Alright, here for another video. Let's be honest, this one gets into a lot of detail. I don't know how many of you are going to stick around for it. But those of you who care about print design, I don't know how many of you are going to stick around for it. Roll the intro.
I was made for this. Yeah. I was made for this. I was made for this.
So last time was about the background and why I created the magazine, what inspired me, kind of how it came about. This time it's all about the design and how it's evolved over time. So I started in 2015. I've done my 4 issues, and I kind of want to walk through how it's evolved, because that was one of the big undertakings. Is I wanted to be able to take a brand and a product and have it grow and manage it over time. So let's jump in and let me start talking about it. I was using an on-demand publishing company called Blurb, and I tried their magazine first, which is this, which you'll see is actually larger than what I have now. So it's taller, wider, and then also just like the paper quality, it feels more like a cheaper magazine. The paper, it's glossy. The printing on it is just not very good. So this was the original prototype that I got this back, and I immediately started redoing it to try and do the trade book, which had uncoated paper, which is something that I really wanted, versus a lot of magazines at the time were the indie magazine, which was uncoated, like I was saying. So then this was the brand guide, and this was the idea of being, as I brought new people in, or as I had other photographers or writers, I could hand them this and they could understand what the brand was. And this was also a test to see how the bigger ones would do. This is a trade book. So it had the perfect bound, and I don't love the glossy cover, but I really love the pages, and the print of these is much nicer. But I laid out the typography that I wanted to use for everything, how it would be used. I explained the photography and the different things how it would be laid out, and then gave examples on how I imagined it playing, which was large photos, taking up most of the page, clean layouts, but really focusing on photography. Then I did some mock-ups on ads, again really trying to go with a clean look. So that was a test, and then this was the very first one I printed on this. This one is what started everything. Right after I printed this, I shipped maybe 3 or 4, and then I renamed to 3V, which is French for 3 lives. And that's really the core of the concept that I was really trying to do, is living life intentionally. Originally it was 12-point font. You'll see as I move on, kind of change the headers. A lot of this style was inspired by Kinfolk, some of the early magazines. Has a real similar clean layout. It has the title and then a little blurb about it, a little pull-out quote. You'll notice all of them have this: letter to my children, and acknowledgement, which turns into the people who inspire me section. So if you look at the most recent one in the back, see, we went to 10-point font, so smaller font, larger margins, bigger headers, and then people who inspire me. This also goes to the front part. You have kind of the area, the volume, and on this one it was Live Life Intentionally. So you see a lot of stuff that carries over throughout the years. Forward, table of contents, and then here's the welcome. A lot of those same concepts. I kind of took out the section headers. This was the second one. I still had the sections at this point. But if you see, they kind of all open to the same. Welcome. Here's the articles. Kind of went a little bit different on this one. You still have the sections. This is volume 31. This is the second one I did, and I really started changing it here. A lot of the articles are the same, but another thing to mention is right after I finished this, published this one and immediately started working on this because I was kind of behind, but you'll see started refining a little bit more of the photography layouts. Started having these pull quotes inside, whereas on this one it was called up top, and then now as you go through, all these quotes are pulled from topics in here. So there's a lot of similarities, a lot of things that stick over time. If you look at this one, I moved the acknowledgements up to the front. You have the now you have the welcome, articles, and then it gets right into it, and then at the very back, keep it all together. So you can kind of tell these beginning sections are a little bit more fine-tuned. This is actually probably one of my favorite ones. This is, if you look at the articles in here, so you have article, and I started doing a little bit bigger space, so you really have wider margins. The sides are about the same, but you really come in from the top, and the bottom has a more unified approach. Just, I felt much cleaner. I started playing with different layouts in this one. Another thing is you get different kind of color blocking in here. I started each magazine has a color theme to it. And then the most recent one, you'll see has again a lot of the similarities, starting to get away from any lines. Really simple articles. And go back. They'll kind of end. It's the only line that you'll see for all the titles. We only have a little time. What was this back part? So this was still acknowledgements, but now started going into people who inspired me versus thanks. Another thing that you'll see is for the first time starting to do $5 for each magazine. So something I've wanted to do for a while, so I redid all the backs of them. It's a little bit different over the years. Kind of going back more to the original, but so the titles kind of stay similar. It was all about the family, and then this year a lot of things changed, more to come. But it's kind of the history behind it.